Hi, my name is Tiffany Hernandez, and this is my video on continuous improvement. I chose the article called Demystifying College Accreditors, Trump's Latest Higher Education Target. I'm going to read a little bit of the excerpt of what sparked my interest. Trump's executive order targets DEI in college accreditation. Best colleges, April 25. The order directs the education secretary to potentially suspend or terminate accreditors that include diversity, equity, and inclusion among their accreditation standards. Cynthia Jackson Hammond, president of the Council for Higher Education Accreditation, said in a statement that she described the relationship between institutions and accreditors as one of a trust and responsible actions. Jackson Hammond added, the independence of the accreditation process is essential in order to preserve and protect the integrity of quality assurance in higher education. For me, diversity, equity, and inclusion amongst the accreditation standards are extremely important. First of all, to ensure the access of ease for students to even get to education. Education must remain diversified because everybody learns at a different pace, within a different mode. There's so many reasons why excluding diversity, equity, and inclusion would not be a good idea amongst accreditation standards. Additionally, taking away the power between the institutions and the accreditors and implementing restrictions from a government perspective, as stated, it's going to impact the overall integrity of the accreditation process because now we're excluding certain parts that make accreditation possible. There are several things that Trump wants to get rid of within the educational system, and as somebody who is aspiring to go into education, it definitely has made me reconsider my career path. The reason that I say that is because right now I'm a child care director, and thinking about going into the educational field and speaking with teachers whom I work with, they tell me that it's almost impossible to implement the curriculum by the Florida standard and be able to deal with the behavioral problems that they are facing within the classroom, because unfortunately there is a lack of support. And that's with the funding that we have had. I know personally, in my site, as a Title I school, we are losing funding and thus losing assistance. On a university standpoint, we are losing funding as well, losing professors. Classes aren't being filled because students can't afford to go back to school, or because in the end of the day, sometimes you assume that college education, and as one young lady who had just graduated, she was working at Ace Hardware for $7.50 an hour. I just could not fathom getting a degree, walking into the workforce and having nothing to show for what it is to get a college education. It's not just the studying, it's the hard work, it's the dedication. You know, I'm somebody who's had to work, go back to school, and I have 3 children that I support by myself. It can be completely overwhelming. Because I hold such a high title at work as an administrator, you know, I don't always have time during the day to study. And then that means I'm up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not easy. So to know that I'm going to walk away with a bachelor's degree, and I'm also going to assume all of this student debt. President Trump wants to get rid of student forgiveness loans. It's overwhelming. It's actually defeating, because as a student, you go back to school to make yourself a better person, to get a higher education, to be a servant to the community and make an impact. And ultimately, today it's more of a social status. It's not, you know, it's almost a luxury of who you know and who you come from to get a higher education. And it really is a shame. This course has been an extreme eye-opener for me. One, from the way that I've implemented my student loans all the way to the gravity and the recognition of what I could be facing upon graduation if I decide that I don't want to go into education and I want to try to venture into a different field. Am I just going to be able to get another job? Or am I going to be facing what tons of other college graduates are facing today? That's all for today. Thank you.